I've opened up 4 coffee shops that do over $3 million in sales a year, and here's what I've learned. My name is Brian Tran, serial entrepreneur, and for most of you guys watching this YouTube, you may know me more as a real estate investor, flipper, wholesaler, but I also own a multitude of other businesses. And today I want to talk a little bit more about the coffee shops because guess what? It was one of the first businesses that I've started that is still around today. Now, let me first start by saying that although the businesses may be different, I will say that there are some core principles that you should follow when you're starting up any business because they do overlap. Let me take you guys back to 2016, October to be exact. That was when we opened up our very first coffee shop called Rise and Grind. Now, I've learned a lot since opening up that single store. And the thing is, you guys may be watching, did we open up 4 stores all at once? No, we did not. We opened up 1, we turned it profitable, we took that money and opened up store number 2, eventually store number 3, and store number 4. And guys, that's how it is. You take the first step, you open up 1, you do well, you learn, you make mistakes, and then eventually you are able to scale. And that's how we are doing well over $3 million in sales a year between all locations. Having these 4 stores, there are a lot of perks, but there are also a lot of headaches that come with it. But I will start by saying that the perks, the income, the money is worth all the headaches. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's a low ticket item. It does very well, even through this recession that we're in, and it provides a steady, consistent income for myself, my partners, my family. So let's go over some of the things I've learned along the ways by opening up 4 coffee shops. Number 1, when it comes to whether you should be buying an existing coffee shop or building one up ground up, I've done both. I've bought stores that were already coffee shops and I remodeled them, and I've built some from the ground up where I had to do the plumbing, the 3-compartment sink, deal with the health department, and deal with all the permitting process. Pain in the butt. And I will advise that you guys do not go through that option. Why? It was actually significantly more expensive to build ground up, especially in San Francisco, than it was for me to just buy an existing one and remodeling it and just adding our special touch to it. So to give you guys a comparison, Rise and Grind number 1, the first coffee shop, we bought it for $75,000. We put in another $50,000, bringing the grand total to $125,000. Now, granted, is it as nice as the second store? No, but it was able to get in very quickly, get it open very quickly. And the cool thing was, because we bought an existing business, we knew the kind of income it was generating already. So we didn't have to worry about that uncertainty. Now, let's move on to Rise and Grind number 2. That was a ground up construction. It had a shell, but I had to break open the ground, do the bathroom, do the plumbing, do everything. And I spent close to $300,000 to get that store open. Now, it was successful, but something happened, and we all know that it was COVID. And so we had to shut down. It's still around today, but that's a whole nother mess. But just comparing the 2, if you're just trying to get into the business, I would say buy an existing one, remodel it, and then at least then you have the guaranteed income. Like if it was making $30,000 a month or $40,000 a month, great, you know that that's how much you're gonna make. And if you improve some things, you can get the numbers up. With a brand new store, you have to, unless you're Starbucks or a Pete's with something with a big, massive brand that can draw in that crowd, building it up, bootstrapping it can take a lot. So to summarize, tip number 1, if you can, always try to go for the remodel route. It'll save you a ton of money. Tip number 2, guys, when it comes to selling a good product consists of 2 things. Number 1 has to be aesthetically pleasing, right? Everything from the cup to the way that the drinks are dressed up, and the quality is the second thing. We don't go cheap on the milk. We don't go cheap on anything, the ingredients, because at the end of the day, when you're competing in a very high market like this, you have to stand out. So that's what we focus on, and that allowed us to really do a little bit better with our competition, which is like Phil's, Blue Bottle. So by using great quality ingredients and making it Instagrammable is what I like to call it, we're able to compete with some of the big guys like Starbucks, Pete's, and all that. Number 3, guys, when you're opening a coffee shop, unless you have deep pockets, you're not gonna be buying the building that you're in. So I suggest you negotiate a very good lease, because the lease will either make you or break you. And so in the past, I've been able to negotiate gross rents and not triple net. Some of our locations are gross, some of our locations are triple net. And what I gotta say is that the triple net kills us. It's an extra added expense, it's much higher, and that ultimately cuts into your profit. If you're wondering what the difference between gross rent and triple net, right? If most people refer triple net as 3 N's. Gross rent is, let's say the lease says it's $3,000. That's all you pay is $3,000. With the triple net, right? It can say $3,000, but then you're responsible for a portion of the property tax, a portion of the maintenance, a portion of the insurance. And so you're paying $3,000, and then typically every year they hit you with the added fees, right? The associated costs of basically keeping the building in shape. So you can expect to pay, it ranges, but you can add a few hundred to a few $1,000s to that. The next tip, guys, is training. You have to make sure that the people that work for you understand your cultural value, your core values, and just overall giving a very good quality experience to the consumer. Now, you can do this by a couple ways, right? You can put it in a manual, make them read it, but that doesn't typically help. So what you have to do is, what I like to do is we throw a little get-togethers where we are very strict on the interview process to make sure that they kind of vibe well, good energy, and then that way, when they're sitting and working at the shop, they're able to give that same experience to the customers. Cool thing with that, guys, is that if you're in any other business, it's kind of the same, right? Like, you want to have that customer experience feeling real good, because if they like it and they feel good, they're gonna come back, and then you're gonna get the repeat business. Number 5, guys, you gotta have a very good point of sale system. Now, a point of sale system is basically that little kiosk that tracks all the sales, because why? You have to figure out what times you're the busiest so you know how to staff appropriately. You have to know what items are selling well and what items are not, because typically we launch on items that we think is doing well, but it's not really actually selling that much, and we're carrying all these ingredients to basically produce this product. Well, if it doesn't do well, that's how we know to just cut it, right? Because the other thing with running multiple stores is food wastage. That costs a lot. So if you're buying things and it goes bad, guess what? That's just like throwing money away. So that's why you gotta have a good point of sale system, tracks everything, and you have to learn to analyze it. This is important for all your other businesses as well. And it doesn't just pertain to a coffee shop. Rather than calling it a point of sale system, in other businesses, we like to call them KPIs, which are key performance indicators. So if you don't have the data and it's not like collected correctly, you're not able to analyze it correctly, and therefore it could be costing you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars every single month. And the final tip, guys, with running and opening all these stores, you gotta be passionate about it. Now, if you're not passionate about coffee, if you're not passionate about being in this service industry, you're not gonna do well. And I say this, guys, because the restaurant and the food industry is ruthless, and it takes a lot of hours. It's not all fun and games. You're not just going around shaking hands and drinking coffee. It's a lot of work, and there's a lot of back end. So you've gotta be passionate about doing this, creating a good product, and seeing your customers be happy when they're drinking your cup of coffee. That's it, guys. Quick video sharing you guys some tips, tricks that I've learned with opening 4 stores. I really appreciate you guys watching. And if you want to know more about how to open up a coffee shop or more about some of my other businesses, hit the comments down below, man. I'd love to share more knowledge with you guys. I appreciate it. I'll catch you guys in the next video.